Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Hopefully, everyone has their Juxtaposition 1 coffee mug. If not, follow the link below to find out my P.O. box, and you can send me some money for a Juxtaposition coffee mug. And do become a paid member of my channel. That's a separate transaction. All right. Today's video will be entitled Mika Brzenzinski, Unhinged Lunatic. Let me repeat. Mika Brzenzinski, unhinged lunatic. Right. She's a COVID occultist. She is COINTELPRO, which is counterintelligence operative. She comes from a counterintelligence family, so she was born into it. She didn't intelligently make a decision about becoming an enemy of humanity. She was conscripted into becoming an enemy of humanity. And make no mistake about it, this woman behind me is one odious scum pond piece of junk, and she should be flushed into the sewer. All right, she's bad news. And her father was bad news, and her mother was bad news. Her mother was born in Geneva, Switzerland, and attended Wellesley College in Boston. Yeah, her mother is a Wellesley alumni. Yes, who can sculpt, but she is a Swiss national. Yes. So again, Swiss Bank, Geneva, Switzerland, Agenda 2030 is in play with Mika Brzenzinski. All right. Now, she has a ridiculously long name because of the fact that she's been divorced and remarried to a complete scumbag, Joe Scarborough. But she was married and divorced once before to James Hoffer, Hoffer. And she was married to him for approximately 23 years. 23 years. But now she's been married to Joe Scarborough since 2018, just before the COVID pandemic hoax, the COVID hoax that Mika Emily Leona Brzezinski pimps out like she's a professional hooker booker, like she books hookers. That's what she's like. Mika Brzezinski is like a hooker booker. She is completely and utterly full of BS. You should believe nothing that comes out of her pie hole. Okay? Her brothers are scumbags too. She has two brothers. They're both involved with politics and the military. Her brothers are Ian and Mark, and they are both scumbags too, right? So she's a family of scumbags. Her mother's a scumbag. Her father is a scumbag. Her brothers are scumbags. Her husband, Joe Scarborough, he's a scumbag with a dead married woman found in his house, in his personal home. Yeah, Dalton Beach, Florida. Joe Scarborough's 28-year-old married woman dead in his home. Probably dead in his bed, right? Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Dead in Joe Scarborough's head, in Joe Scarborough's house. And where was Mika? I don't know. She was probably busy with husband number one at the time. Joe Scarborough has been married and divorced twice. He's been married 3 times, divorced twice. Mika will be his next ex. It's just like the JFK situation. Not different than the Donald Trump situation. Donald Trump and Joe Scarborough actually have more in common than not. And of course, they both pimp out the COVID vaccine, which of course is a hoax because there's no such thing as COVID. And Mika Brzezinski, she pimps out the vaccine and boosters, and there's no such thing as a vaccine for radio Havana syndrome. You know, there's radiation poisoning. There's no vaccine for radiation poisoning. So Mika either is brain dead, mentally retarded, or she is completely and utterly augmented. And I would like to see her paperwork on how many jabs and flu shots she has received in her life. She is one messed up individual. Anyway, I'm going to read to you her own words that she spoke during the COVID hoax pandemic. Before I do, let me tell you about her father is Zbigniew Brzezinski. He worked for Lyndon Baines Johnson, as a so-called consigliere. And then, of course, he was Jimmy Carter's national security advisor from 1977 to 1981. Brzezinski, also known as Z-Big, he is a fellow of the Harvard cult also. He was born in Warsaw, Poland, and he is a Polish COINTELPRO counterintelligence operative and that works for pseudo-fake presidents with no authority. LBJ had no authority. Jimmy Carter had no authority. Donald Trump has no authority. Joe Biden has no authority. Anyway, he was one arrogant person not born in the United States who came to America to get involved in government, even though he is a complete foreigner. And he was born in Warsaw on March 28th, 1928, and is allegedly a Roman Catholic. So he's controlled by the Bank of Vatican and Switzerland. And of course, he married a Swiss national. He married Mika's mother, and her name is Emily. All right. Emily Benazova. Emily Benazova, okay, who was born in Geneva, Switzerland on January 21st, 1932. She lived until age 90. She died in Jupiter, Florida, July 22nd, 2022, during the COVID pandemic. She died. There is nothing known about Emily's parents. Emily Benazova's parents are unknown. That's a red flag that we've just deleted her parents. We have a reference on Wikipedia that she is, in fact, a relative, a blood relative of the former Prime Minister of Poland. Yes, that's what they say in Wikipedia, that she is related to the former president, Edward Beneš, who became a Polish immigrant. Anyway, what you should know is that she comes from Geneva, Switzerland. Enough said. She went to Wellesley College in Massachusetts, born in Geneva, Switzerland. She fancies herself as an artist. Bear in mind, she marries Zbigniew Brzezinski, who works with LBJ and Jimmy Carter as the national security advisor. And this is very bad. Then her two sons become involved in the military as well. And I have them here, and they're just not appearing. Ian Joseph Brzezinski, born December 23rd, 1963, is in foreign policy and military affairs. He's an expert in military affairs. Of course, he works for NATO. He works for NATO policy. From 2001 through 2005, he was working for policy decisions for NATO under President George W. Bush. He served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Europe and NATO. So isn't this sad that Mika's mother is a Geneva Swiss Bank Authority citizen? Her brother Ian works for NATO and was the Secretary of Defense for Europe, and also working for NATO under George W. Bush. So that makes Ian public enemy number one, as well as Joe Scarborough and the dead woman in his house. All right, well, that's Ian. Let's move to the second son, brother. There are three children of the Zbigniew Polish COINTELPRO household. So I just covered Ian. Let's talk about Mark. Brother Mark Jabrinski. All right. He is an American lawyer, which is that's a strike right there. He's a lawyer for the United States ambassador to Poland, of course. He's been an ambassador to Poland 2022 to 2025. God help us how he got through the COVID hoax. He previously served as the United States ambassador to Sweden 2011 and 2015 under the fake President Barack Obama. It's a very political family, the Zbigniew Brzezinski family. He He's the son of Mika Brzenzinski, and you should know that there's not a whole lot known about him in terms of the fact that he did graduate from Dartmouth with a Bachelor of Arts degree in government. He earned a Juris Doctorate from University of Virginia Law School. That's where he got his legal background for maritime law. And he holds a doctorate of philosophy in political science from Oxford University. He also earned a Fulbright scholarship to study constitutional tribunal of the Republic of Poland. Hey, I could save you some time, Mark. There's no constitution in Poland. There's no constitution in America. We're under maritime law, Swiss Bank Authority. And if you don't believe me, why don't you ask your mother? Oh, she died at age 90. So you can't ask Emily because she's dead. But Geneva Global Governance is in charge, and Mark Brzezinski's legal services are not needed. When you're under maritime law, the guy with the black coat makes the rules, typically done in the parking lot or the men's room. All right. Anyway, that's Mika's parents. Now let me turn to some of the inflammatory balderdash and poppycock that this criminal, this war criminal, Mika Brzezinski, she said she was horrified. She was horrified during the COVID rollout. And I'm trying to give you a date of this particular vitriol. Was July 14th, 2021. So we were well into the vaccine rollout at that time. And Mika was quoted as saying, "What's wrong with them?" Them being juxtaposition, like, why won't I get vaccinated? Why am I reluctant? Why do I show vaccine resistance? This is an article published by Travis Geddes on July 14, 2021, where he is quoting Mika Brzezinski's vitriol. And this is when she was employed at MSNBC. Mika Brzezinski was horrified by Tennessee decision to halt all vaccine outreach to adolescents as the corona variant gained ground in less protected regions of the country. Okay, that's a bald-faced lie. There's no COVID, so it can't gain ground. It doesn't exist. Ring cameras and smart meters and LED lights exist. Hey, Mika, maybe you should be concerned about the 7G equipment deployment, because you know what? That gives you radiation poisoning, which is what COVID is. Has nothing to do with any flu virus. Anyway, she is concerned about the state of Tennessee, who is a Republican-led legislature, forced out the health department's vaccine coordinator over the coronavirus immunization of children, and then officials who paused, reminding and having surveys they wanted to stop the pimping out of the COVID vaccine. This was all made popularized on Morning Joe, which she co-hosts with her second husband, Joe Scarborough, his third marriage. She's the next axe. Anyway, this comes as Republican officials nationwide are fighting efforts to boost United States vaccination rates through outreach programs, says Brzezinski. All right. She wants teenagers to be jabbed. That's what she's saying back in 2021. This woman won't shut up. She won't shut up. But it gets worse. It gets worse. It gets much worse. Okay. I remain shaken and deeply worried that these educated, emotionally intelligent, and wonderful friends and neighbors of mine, they've all bought into a destructive dogma of this online death cult of people who don't want to be vaccinated. Most of them are women. Some women work directly in the healthcare field. My approach has been to stay silent, but to speak to these people diplomatically. And fortunately, several of my friends decided to get the vaccine after we spoke. But there are several others who refuse to get vaccinated. A very close friend of mine, who I will not name, has ended up in the hospital with COVID-19, fearing for her life. That's a bald-faced lie. Mika, you're a bald-faced liar. There's nobody in the hospital with COVID-19 who's in fear of their lives. There's no such thing as COVID. Most hospitals are closed, by the way, because there's no one in hospitals. Our family has felt deep compassion for this woman and so many other Americans like her who believe the lies that were constantly fed online regarding certain cable news network channels. Oh, you mean that you lie 24/7 and that Morning Joe is poppycock, balderdash, mendacities 24/7 and that you should be put into a prison cell at a FEMA camp with no windows? You mean like that, MSNBC? Mika goes on, quote, I cannot imagine the loneliness, fear, and regret of the victims of the pandemic of the unvaccinated. There's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So says Mika. In the face alone, in the hospital room, with doctors to have to incubate them because I guess unvaccinated are a threat to the vaccinated. Do you understand how retarded and mentally deranged and unhinged and lunatic you have to be to say that an unvaccinated person poses a threat to a vaccinated person? That you're basically stating that the vaccine is unsafe and does not work. It is unsafe and ineffective to get you to be immune from radiation poisoning, which, by the way, it doesn't work. It promotes radiation toxicity. The vaccine is a bio-cyber interface to guarantee that you're hooked up to the 7G technology, smart meters, ring cameras, LED lights, drones over your head, tethered to your wireless router in your house, tethered to your television set while you're watching MSNBC and Morning Joe, you're tethered to the cloud, like a walking hard drive, a walking antenna. Do you see how dumb COVID-19 pimps are? They're dumber than a box of rocks. To me, attacking those with COVID seems the worst of our monsters coming out in the open. It's just as destructive as the disinformation that has pulled our country into this terrible place. I'm pretty sure everyone I have written about will read this piece. So I will say again, I love you. Please get vaccinated. Please, I'm begging you, protect yourself and others from this awful pandemic. Hey, Mika Brzenzinski, go jump in a lake and conk your head on a brick. Perhaps the brick that killed Lori, the married woman found in your husband's house, dead, right? Lori Klausukas. She hit her head, probably on the same brick that you should be looking for when you jump in the lake, because you are as lunatic as President Barack Obama's chef who drowned in a duck pond. Yeah, he drowned in a duck pond. Why don't you go for a long walk on a short pier, Mika Brzenzinski? Anyway, I wanted you to get to know this blonde, dyed peroxide 59-year-old enemy of humanity. She was born May 2nd, 1967 in New York City. Her entire family is counterintelligence. She is mendacity, balderdash, and poppycock COINTELPRO. She is a pimp for vaccinations, for the flu shot, and for boosters, and bird flu, and monkeypox, and anything that will increase your radio frequency, tethering you to the cloud 24/7, bio-cyber interface, Mika Brzenzinski. Your mother is a Geneva global governance clown, and so are you. You're the daughter of a Geneva global governance mother, Mika Brzenzinski. Do like and share my videos. I am heavily shadow banned. Let me just show you a little cavalcade of photographs here before I sign off. Shall we do that? Yes, we shall do that. So here's the first one. This again is Mika the pimp for the vaccine. Here she is working with Joe Biden, who's completely clueless clown. So we have two blonde clueless clowns pimping out and promoting COVID fear, hoax pandemics, and bio-cyber interfaces of certification of vaccine identity, artificial intelligence, real ID. Two blonde pimps for real ID. Under the chain of command of Geneva, Switzerland, this is where Mika's mother was born, is in Geneva, Switzerland. This obelisk is in the city center of Geneva. So I'm just telling you, you've got a Mika is obedient to the obelisk. This is Mika. And her second husband, his third wife, Joe Scarborough, who had a dead married woman in his home in Florida, right? Remember? She was dead in his home at Fort Walton Beach in a gated security house. How'd she get in your house, Joe? Did Mika ever ask? No. You know why? Because we live in a zero trust world. Do you think that the marriage of these two criminals, these two counterintelligence operatives for NATO, for Geneva, Switzerland, do you think their marriage is real or fake? I think it's a fake marriage, and I think they're going to be divorced within the next 4 to 5 years. That's what I think. This woman will still be dead in 4 to 5 years. But this psycho, unhinged lunatic should be completely and utterly ignored. She is bad news. Do like and share my videos. Do become a paid member of my channel. Get busy getting educated and get yourself a Juxtaposition 1 coffee mug. All right. Look for my P.O. box down below and send me a little love, and we'll get you set up with an adult beverage in your cup. Take care now, and we'll talk soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon, shall we? Uh-oh.